Hello and welcome to your science lesson today. Today I have a slideshow I would like to share with you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we are. So today's lesson is on symbiosis, which I will tell you in a little bit what that's all about. But first we need to look at a definition here. So an individual organism, so within a species, are members of a population. So here, this picture, you see a whole bunch of individuals of king penguins, and all together, all the species in that area are called a population. And make note that a population includes all of the members of a species living in one area. Kind of like the population of La Crosse are all of the people that live in La Crosse. The population of La Crosse are different numbers and different group of people than, let's say, the population of Dallas, Texas. Okay? So even though we're both humans, the population of La Crosse, Wisconsin, and the population of Dallas, Texas, they're going to look a little bit different. So again, a population are all the members of individuals in one species living in one area. We're going to look at two populations of species that both live in the Arctic tundra. So in the northern part of Canada, where it's really cold, the Arctic tundra, the first population that we're going to look at are the lemmings. Here's a picture of a lemming. They're awfully cute little guys. And I'm going to give you some information about them. These lemmings are in the same family as other rodents, so they're cousins to mice and gerbils and hamsters and rats. They have soft and long fur with extremely small tails. They are herbivores, like many rodents, so they eat grasses, sedges, and leaves, and sometimes bulbs and roots. They do sometimes eat the larvae of insects, sometimes when it's available. They're incisors, the teeth at the front of the mouth, like you can see in this picture here. They grow constantly, just like their cousins, the gerbils and hamsters, which means, so because they grow constantly, it means they must gnaw on forage that is tougher than their teeth, so that they can kind of grind them down. Even though winters up in the Arctic are harsh, lemmings do not hibernate. They make tunnels in the snow and eat up stores of clippings that they saved from warmer times. Lemmings, contrary to popular belief, like to live alone. They're pretty small. I mean, they would fit in the palm of my hand. Okay, so you can kind of imagine how small they are. And I have to scale here. They usually, they meet to mate. That's the only time if they're going to be in a group. And if there's plenty of food, so if there's lots of grasses and sedges, if there's a ton of it, then they reproduce quickly. So they have lots of babies in a short amount of time. If the lemming population becomes too large for the food supply, the lemmings can migrate in large numbers. So if we see a big group of lemmings together, it's because their food supply has run out and they need to migrate to a different spot to find more food. Lemmings, just like in this picture here, can swim across bodies of water to look for new homes, and they oftentimes have to do that if they run out of food. Some lemmings invariably drown, okay, but many make it to land safely. So lemmings are one animal that lives in the Arctic tundra of northern Canada. We're going to look at another animal that lives in the same area, and that's the snowy owl. Oh, aren't they noble looking, so majestic, just flying with grace. I've never seen a snowy owl in person, but I've seen them at the zoos and they're just so beautiful. They live in the extreme north, just like the lemmings, and they're the northernmost owls. They're also the heaviest owl, which makes sense. They have to be as heavy as possible to keep warm. Its head is round with yellow eyes, as you can see here, and they have a black beak. While mature females may have some barring or black stripes on its body, the male is almost completely white. So this would probably be a female snowy owl. The snowy owl hunts during the day in a style called sit and wait. The owl usually perches itself in a good location and waits for the scurrying of little animals, like the lemming, which they catch and carry away in their beaks. Larger meals consist of fish or hares, which they catch and carry with their sharp talons. Smaller animals and small hares are eaten whole, whereas larger prey are torn and eaten. They regurgitate a pellet with the bones, fur, teeth, and feathers of the prey they have eaten whole. So here's kind of a gross picture of a snowy owl regurgitating the pellet, the stuff that they can't digest. Snowy owls don't like to hunt near their nests, so other birds make their nests near them for protection from foxes and other predators that steer clear of the snowy owl. The snowy owl actually makes their nest on the ground. So here is an owl sitting in her nest on the ground there. When lemmings are plentiful, snowy owls may lay as many as 14 eggs. So just like the lemmings, if the lemmings have plenty of grass, they reproduce quickly. The snowy owl, if they have plenty of lemmings to eat, they're going to lay more eggs. In normal years, they give birth to 5 to 8 owlets. They lay 1 egg a day, every other day, until they have laid all their eggs for that year. On years where there's a lot of lemmings, it can lay up to 14 eggs. If an owl loses its first clutch of eggs, so its first hatching, it does not lay another clutch that year. So this is the last picture I have here. It would be pretty difficult to choose which animal we would want, the cute lemming or the noble snowy owl, but luckily we don't have to choose. It seems that the lemming and the snowy owl actually can't live without one another. They need each other to survive. In order to appreciate this, we need to talk about the difference between studying an individual and studying a population. Very often in the lemming world, what is good for the population may not always be good for the individual. And let's talk about that for a second. A snowy owl, like for this individual here, is benefiting from eating the lemming. This poor individual lemming is, well, it's dead. It's not being benefited from the snowy owl because the snowy owl is killing it, right? So in this situation, the individual lemming is not being helped by the individual snowy owl. But when we look at the population of lemmings, this is one less lemming in the population, which means one less lemming to eat the food. Okay, lemmings, because there's so many of them, they eat the grass and sedges and bushes really quickly. So if there becomes too many lemmings, the food runs out really quick for them. And then they have to migrate, and it's dangerous for them to migrate. And then once they migrate, they eat all that food really fast. So the snowy owl is actually needed by the lemmings to help keep their population down. The snowy owl is in charge of eating those lemmings so that they don't overpopulate and get too many. Since if that happens, if they can keep their population down, then more lemmings can, or the lemmings that do survive, thrive because there's plenty of food for them to live where they live. They don't have to migrate as far, and they can just thrive in their population. Okay? So the relationship between these two animals are highly, tightly woven. When the lemmings have more food, they reproduce more, a lot more, which means that there's more food for the snowy owl. And if the snowy owls can eat more, they will reproduce more. So we've got a good balance here. This is called a symbiosis. Okay, they need each other to survive and they help keep their populations balanced. Remember, we're looking at the population of animals, not the individual. As a whole, the population, the snowy owl and the lemming, need each other to survive. It's pretty cool that we have relationships like this in nature that we can now study. And that's what you're going to do this week is you are going to choose a symbiotic relationship, two animals that need each other to survive, populations, we're not looking at individuals right now, we're just looking at the populations of animals that need each other to survive, like the snowy owl and the lemming. Okay, so you're going to choose one pair of animals. Some examples might be a wolf and a rabbit, or a bald eagle and a trout or a walleye, or a grizzly bear and a salmon, or a fox snake and a mouse. Okay, there's lots of examples. There's just a few that you could choose from. I would like you to present information about each one, just like I did here. I gave you information about lemmings. I gave you information about the snowy owl. And then I talked about how they have a symbiotic relationship, why they need each other in order to survive. That is what I would like you to do with your chosen pair of animals. You may choose how you would like to present that information. You may create a slideshow like I did and do a voice recording over some of the pictures, or you could make a poster. You could create a animation. So the world is your oyster here with how you would like to present your information. But again, I will be looking for information about each population and then how those two populations need each other to survive, how they form that symbiotic relationship. Awesome. Looking forward to seeing your work. Thanks.